13, starting at verse 3. Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going back to God, rose from supper. He laid aside his outer garment, and taking a towel, tied it around his waist. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel that was wrapped around him. Down to verse 12. When he had washed their feet and put on his outer garments and resumed his place, he said to them, "Do you understand what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for so I am. If I then, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example that you also should do, just as I have done to you. Truly, truly, I say to you, a servant is not greater than his master, nor is a messenger greater than the one who sent him. If you know these things, blessed are you if you do them." May God add his understanding to his word.
Excuse me while I get all organised up here. So this is pretty fancy. I'll see if it works. Not yet. It's on green. Got to point to the back. There we go. It's always good when things go the way they're meant to, isn't it? So Lindsay asked Phil and I to come out and share with you during this time of reflecting on missions, because we work at this place called Ridgecrest, which runs predominantly on the generosity and donations of Christian churches in the Central West, and predominantly Baptist churches. And a lot of Baptist churches in the Central West have a deep history with Ridgecrest, and I'm sure there's plenty of people here who have been familiar with the work of Ridgecrest in the past, and it was a joy to see our poster up on the back wall there, so you're keeping our ministry at the forefront of your thoughts, so we really thank you for that, and we're here just to share with you a little bit about what God is doing in Ridgecrest at the moment. So Ridgecrest is a Christian camping venue which provides accommodation, catering and activities for up to 160 people at a time. It is situated high above Lake Burrendong on 100 hectares of mountainous bushland with magnificent 360-degree views. It commenced in 1972, so we're over 50 years old, through the vision of the New South Wales Western Baptist Churches. And in 2021, management of the site was handed over to Ridgecrest Christian Ministries Incorporated. And that was a decision to make it easier on the conglomeration of Baptist churches that were trying to keep it up and running, but churches that were declining in numbers and getting older in age and were having difficulty physically being out there running the place. So they handed it over to a new management system, but the Baptist churches still own the site. But management is handed over to Ridgecrest Christian Ministries Incorporated. The original vision was to create a venue where the people of New South Wales could be reached with the gospel of Jesus Christ through the ministry of Christian camping, and this remains our vision today. Not sure how many people, maybe a show of hands, if you've ever been to a Christian camp anywhere. Okay. Another show of hands, if Christian camping has in some way helped you in your growth in your faith. Yeah. It's that something about gathering together with that purpose of just meeting with God, sitting under solid teachers and allowing him to come and commune with you does a lot for your Christian growth, and that's what we see at Ridgecrest all the time. The team at Ridgecrest have a motto, and our motto is taken from 1 Corinthians, whatever you do, do all for the glory of God. So whether we are cleaning, whether we are cooking, whether we are greeting and communicating with the guests that are on site, whether we are cleaning out water tanks or building rock walls, our heart is to do it all for the glory of God. Our team at the moment is made up of 5 people. 1 full-time person, that's Renee McClure, who is our manager. Phil and I are part-time, we're 4 days a week. And then we have 2 volunteers that also live on site. Peter, who is Renee's husband, he volunteers when he can. And a 70-year-old lady, Margaret Turnbull, who lives on site and volunteers by helping in the kitchen. And so that is our small team of 5, and we do absolutely everything, from cleaning to gardening to maintenance to cooking to administration to being there for the guests to help them with anything that they need. We feel that Ridgecrest is an anointed space. God's presence is evident the moment you step onto the land. His creation displays his majesty. Guests are always testifying to the peace they experience when visiting. We as a team have experienced his abundant provision in so many ways, and there's a couple of examples there. The car park gravel example was we needed to get new gravel for our car park, and it's a very big car park. And we were told by the measurements we would need 5 truckloads of gravel. And each truckload was going to cost, I think it was like $5,000 or something, or $2,500 or something. We could only afford 1 truckload. And so we said, we'll just take 1 truckload. They came and dumped that truckload of gravel. We had a team of a school group there at the time helping us distribute the gravel. And we just kept distributing it. And the mound didn't go down. And we just kept distributing it. We ended up having enough gravel for all the car park and then down one of the side areas round cabins 3 and 4, if you know where that is. And we still had gravel left over. And we were told we needed 5 truckloads, and that was just with 1 truckload. It was a classic loaves and fishes sort of miracle of how it stretched beyond what it was supposed to. These are the sorts of things that we see all the time. There's a few other little things listed there, which I won't go into them in detail, but so often we see God's provision in miraculous ways. We have experienced the Lord's powerful protection from bushfire, severe storms, and some pretty bad near-miss accidents. Now that picture there of the chapel looks like a beautiful picture, doesn't it? That's a bushfire that you can see behind it. So just over 2 years ago, there was a big bushfire came through, and it came down the ridge, burnt out pretty much our whole 100 acres, except for the little bit on top where all the buildings are. So the bushfire came down the ridge, it separated, went around all the cabins and the buildings and the sheds and everything, and joined up again and kept going. And it's amazing. You can still walk around up there and you can see where this bushfire went and how we were protected. And that was one of many photos that were taken during that bushfire a couple of years ago. We have experienced personal healing And many who have visited the site also testify to God's healing in mind, body, and spirit. But the best thing of all is the myriad number of people we see who grow in their relationship with Jesus, and for many accepting Jesus as their Lord and Saviour for the first time. This is a photo that was taken down at our motocross track, one of the wonderful facilities we have there. So our mission heart is to support God's church in the ministries and outreach that they are doing as led by God. That's our mission heart. We're there to support churches like your church. We pray that we are a tool you can use to help grow your church and outreach into your community with the love of Jesus. Whether it's by helping you run a church camp for yourselves or providing information about many different camps that you can just send people along to or come along to yourself, all of which are focused on developing our relationship with Jesus. So yes, we do this by providing a venue that churches can hire for their own camps, or running our own evangelical and discipleship camps throughout the year. So that's our mission heart, to support the church on the ground. For churches that hire our facilities, you can be assured that your camp will be soaked in prayer. Our team has a loving servant heart, and we will do all we can to provide an atmosphere of peace and joy. And you will be blessed abundantly with generous servings of scrumptious food. It's one thing we are really known for, which sets us apart from a lot of other campsites. We get a lot of joy out of providing abundant amount of scrumptious, yummy food, because it makes people just joyful. It's just, you can't have hungry people. And we love to serve, and we love to see people really enjoying themselves and feeling blessed. Our heart is just to bless people while they're there on site with us. Now, we run 12 different evangelical or discipleship outreach camps every year. These are separate to independent churches coming up and running their own camp. These are camps that we as a team run with various committees that help us, and they are purely aimed at either sharing the love of Jesus with people who haven't heard it yet, or helping Christians grow in their relationship with Jesus. So I'm just going to quickly run through these 12 camps, because you might find that there's some here that you think, oh, I know someone who'd love to go to that, or gee, I'd like to go to that one. So here's some ideas for you to think about. So we have 2 water ski camps every year, one for teenagers, one for adults. These are held in January, or actually February and March, while the weather's still warm enough. And we have over 100 people come, and they spend the Saturday water skiing out on the dam. But we always get a very strong speaker in, and they hear the gospel message, and they have a lot of wonderful time of fellowship together. We're also trying to get a tradies camp up and running. This hasn't actually happened yet, but it's hopefully will happen next year. So it's an opportunity for Christian apprentices to come away for the weekend and do some fun hands-on stuff with some Christian mature tradies. And the idea is for them to build up a support network to help them help young tradies navigate how to be a Christian in the workplace today. Then we have, in March, we have our ladies' craft camp. So anyone who likes to sit round and chat with other ladies while doing a bit of craft, more than welcome to come along, and you get to fellowship with some lovely ladies, eat some lovely food, and just share with each other testimonies of what Jesus is doing in your life. We also have a classic car camp every year. We tried to introduce the 4-wheel drive element this year. That didn't quite work, so we're still basically classic cars. So Guys that love doing up cars, that love getting together and talking about cars, they come together for the weekend with their cars, have a great time of fellowship, a good Christian speaker, go for a country drive, learn about what Jesus is doing in each other's lives. We try to have a working bee once a year. This year it kind of happened as an impromptu thing over Easter. Unplanned, but we had a stack of people turn up to help us with a project, which I'll tell you about when we get to that slide. We also have a marriage enrichment weekend, which is coming up very soon, and I think for this year it's already booked out. It's a very popular camp. It's a beautiful camp for married people, whether you've been newly married or married for 50 years. It's an opportunity for you to come together and learn about just growing your marriage in a healthy, godly way. And we always spoil the couples with a special date night dinner. So that's something to look out for next year, because I'm pretty sure there might be one spot. If you're really keen, there might be one spot left. But we limit numbers for that. It's quite a small camp because we want it to be an intimate and personal relationship sort of camp. Then we have our motocross camp in July. This is for high schoolers. If you know any high schoolers that love to get out there on the dirt, this is the camp for them. Again, they hear wonderful stories about what Jesus can do in their life. And then we've got our primary kids, PK camp. So if you've got kids or grandkids that are from ages 8 to 12, this is a 4-day camp over school holidays where the kids hear all about Jesus. And it's a great time of games and craft and adventure. Then we have our farmers camp in July. Now this is very popular. We usually get well over 100 come for the camp, and then an extra 70 or so come just on the Saturday. And this is an opportunity for farmers or country men. You don't actually have to be a farmer, but for country blokes to get together and hear testimonies from other Christian men and some good solid Bible teaching, and just to be encouraged. And women are allowed to come to this, but as day visitors on the Saturday. And the reason why they can't come for the whole weekend is we just don't have the accommodation. And if we've just got men who are staying overnight, we can throw them all in cabins together. We don't have to worry about, splitting people up, and because every single bed is used for this camp. But wives are more than welcome to come and enjoy the day on Saturday. Last year we had John Anderson, the national leader from a few years ago. So yeah, he was our guest speaker. Lovely, strong Christian man, had some great things to say. And I'm not sure who we've got lined up this year, but it's that sort of quality of speaker that we get to the farmers camp. Now, Sing It Out camp. This is a new one that we're doing this year that Phil and I are getting up and running. And the aim of this one is to encourage congregations to be bold, confident, that's a better word, to be confident in their singing. So Phil and I have a background of being music teachers, and we know 100% for sure there's no one out there who can't sing. It's just you're lacking confidence, you haven't learned how to hold your note, you haven't learned how to hear and listen, and the more nervous you are, the harder it is to get a voice out. Now I'm not a good singer, but I can sing with confidence because of the little things that I've learnt. And so when we're talking about being in a congregation, what's more wonderful than being in a congregation where everyone is singing confidently? It's a wonderful feeling. And so if there's that inner singer in you who kind of feels like, I just want to be able to let it out. I've got some nods here. We're going to see you at camp, aren't we? Come along to camp. Come along to the Sing Out camp, and it's going to be fun. And there will be lots of singing, but it will be fun, and some fun ways for you to learn how to find that inner voice. And then come back to church and be a lot more confident in singing. And there may be even some people who come back to their church and are more confident in actually putting their hands up to help with leadership as well. That's one of the things benefits that could come out of a camp like this. But that's what it's about, encouraging people to sing without fear. And then we've got another craft camp at the end of the year, because all the women know one craft camp a year is just not enough. We need to gather together at least twice to keep working on that quilt or whatever project it is, because we love catching up with our friends and eating lots of cake. So that's craft camp. So, current partnership projects. Last year, some churches and individuals partnered with Ridgecrest to finance the restoration of Cabin 9, which is our new retreat cottage. And there's a picture of Cabin 9 veranda there. You can see the beautiful view that we have from that veranda. And we are still trusting the Lord to help provide the shortfall outstanding from that completed project. Now this Cabin 9, the retreat cottage, it's all about providing a beautiful, peaceful, safe place for people in full-time ministry who need a break. So it might be for a weekend, it might be for a month, it might be missionaries who are home on furlough, it might be ministers who are on long service leave, it might be for ministers who are just having a really hard time for personal reasons and just need to retreat away. So this is what this space is for. For circumstances like that, it is free of charge. If you know someone in full-time ministry who needs to be gifted with a week away or a weekend away just to withdraw from the world and rebuild, this is what it's for. But we don't like a good resource sitting there empty. So if you want to treat your wife to a special weekend away, it can be rented out separately. So if it's available and you want to rent it, I think it's about $110 a night. But for ministers and people in full-time ministry, it is our gift to help them have that space that they need. All right, so that's something to have on your radar. You might come across people who need that sort of space down the track. That's Cabin 9, our retreat cottage. Now, this year we are trusting God for 200 new chairs for the Lakeview meeting room. And we need 200 chairs because, like at farmers camp, we've got 140 people sleeping overnight, and then we have, 60 people come just for the day. So our main meeting room, it can hold 200 people. We need 200 chairs. The chairs we've got are falling apart. They're not even safe, really. And we are looking for donations of $150 for one chair. Now, I want to celebrate and praise God today because we have just put in an order for 100 chairs. We have raised in these first few months of the year enough money to order 100 chairs. And we are trusting God for the second lot of 100 chairs before the end of the year. But it does mean in about 6 weeks, at least we're going to have 100 beautiful new safe chairs in our Lakeview meeting room. And we're excited because we know God will bless us with all that we need. This year we are also praising God for a number of donations that have been provided specifically for the restoration of an outdoor chapel. And work has begun and should be completed by September of this year. Now, in the 1970s, someone started to put a chapel in the hillside, but then it got neglected and overgrown. And so we're redoing it again, but this time we're serious about it. We're building brick walls and everything, so it's going to last for 50 years. So basically, it's on a steep incline, and when you're actually sitting in the chapel, you're overlooking the view over Lake Burrendong. It's a beautiful place to sit. We are going to be building 8 levels into the hillside. This was the impromptu working bee that happened at Easter, just gone. We had about 10 people turn up to help start the work on this area. And they got through, I think we got through to the 3rd level over Easter. Since then, we've had a few other people come and help fill out. We're now just starting the 6th level, so we've only got 2 more levels to go, and then we'll end up with this beautiful amphitheatre. It's like an outside amphitheatre, and I know God's got a artist out there somewhere who's either brilliant with wood or metal, who will fashion one day a beautiful cross for down the front, and then this will be our outdoor chapel space available for everyone. We've also got a personal reason to need this completed by the end of September, because our daughter is getting married there, and we really would love her wedding to be held in this beautiful outdoor chapel space. So we're still looking for donations to help with that, because we would like to make sure it's all finished off beautifully with pavers on the steps and things to make it safe. So was there another slide after that? Yeah. So please support us with your prayers. We give thanks to God for all the wonderful blessings that come from his presence, for his provision, protection, guidance and strength. We thank God that he keeps Ridgecrest on a tight financial line so that we learn to trust him for absolutely every resource. In this respect, please pray that we will continue to enjoy his generous blessings and provisions, and that we use every gift wisely. Pray for camp leaders, that God will raise them up and equip them. Pray also for the younger leaders coming through the ranks, that they will be well supported, trained, and that they will be released into leadership under God's direction and in his perfect timing. Pray that the Ridgecrest team will continue to be united and to keep their focus on Jesus and not be distracted from the mission he has called us to. Pray that we will be guided by God in respect to what our team will look like after Margaret retires in January. That's that 70-year-old volunteer I was telling you about. She's given us a year's notice. She's going to be very hard to replace. She's a very fit 70-year-old. She works very hard, and she does it all as a volunteer. So we are praying for God to show us how she will be replaced. We pray that God will continue to bless Ridgecrest abundantly with every good thing, that he will provide for all our needs, and that souls will be won for his kingdom through the ministry of Christian camping. And if you need to know anything more, our website is a good place to visit. Now, I don't want to just leave it there. I want to share with you a personal testimony. So, you've already heard that Phil and I have a background in teaching music. And when COVID hit and different things happened, we found ourselves needing to find new work, and we moved into motel management. And so we were running a motel down in Coonabarabran, and we were there for a couple of years. And if anyone's had any experience in motel management, it is a 24/7 job, and it is exhausting. And we were in a very big, very busy motel right on the highway in Coonabarabran. And we were getting sick because we were not getting a break. The phone was ringing in the middle of the night. We were starting to lose our patience with people. We were starting not to be as nice as Jesus wanted us to be. I was feeling as if I was getting very unwell. And so we started crying out to God about we need somewhere else to go. This isn't working for us. We knew it was God's provision at the time, and looking back, we can see why we were there. There were certain things that God did through our family because we were in that place, and also certain skills that he taught us because we were in that place. But after that 2.5 years, we were getting sick, and so we started crying out to God. And we knew he had somewhere for us, but we didn't know where. And we had a bit of a unique need in that the job we were in had accommodation provided. So we couldn't we needed somewhere to live because we owned a house in Bathurst, but it was being rented out to somebody else. And all our furniture and everything was in storage that we couldn't access. And so we were like, not sure how God was going to fix the problem, but we were sure he would fix the problem. And we came across this ad for a ground maintenance person, which Phil applied for. This was for Ridgecrest. And to cut a really long story as short as possible for you, because I know time is important, they ended up offering Phil a job. But at the same time, they said, well, we've actually been praying for a ministry couple, not just for a ground maintenance person. And we would like to offer you and Kath a job, and it comes with a furnished house. And that was just so obviously God's provision that I didn't even ask what my job would be. We just said we'd take it because we knew it was what God wanted us to do. Phil was he loves gardening, and in the motel he learnt a lot about ride-on lawnmowers and hedging and all of this sort of stuff. And so Phil knew that what his job was. All I knew was that my job was to assist the manager. And I have a strong background also in administration. And so I'm like, yeah, I can assist the manager, not a problem. So the first day of work, when I meet Renee up in the office, expecting to, start learning about administration of the campsite, I discover that Renee works 2 days a week in the office. The rest of the time she's in the kitchen. Now, I can't cook. I can't deal with food. I'm absolutely useless in the kitchen. I can't fry an egg. Just ask my husband. I honestly can't. And if someone had said to me, why don't you apply to be a kitchen hand? I would have been like, not on your Nelly. There is absolutely nothing that interests me about working in a kitchen. But here I find myself in a job that I have accepted to do without knowing, and I'd be working a couple of days a week in the kitchen, 2-3 days a week in the kitchen. Adding to that, I had a condition at this point called plantar fascia, which is extreme pain in my foot, and I could not stand on it for any length of time at all. I had to keep it iced, I had to keep it strapped, I had to wear certain shoes, and even with that, I was in pain a lot of the time. I would hobble around. And here I am finding out I'm in a job where I have to be on my feet 5-6 hours a day. And I'm like to Renee, I can't do this. And she goes, yeah, sure you can. God called you here. Sure you can. She bought me special mats to stand on that was supposed to help. Anyway, my first weekend there, I was so out of my depth. I went home and cried and cried. And I was in so much pain. My back hurt, my hips hurt, my foot was murderous. And I had floundered around in this kitchen all day, not knowing what I was doing. And I sat there and I said to God, what on earth am I meant to be doing here? Why did you send me here? And the next day, we had staff devotions, and the passage that was used was the passage about Jesus washing the disciples' feet. And in that passage, God said to me so clearly, how uncomfortable are you prepared to be in order to serve me? Look at what I've done for you. How uncomfortable are you prepared to be in order to serve me? And it was such a reprimand because I knew God wanted me in that kitchen. I just didn't want to be uncomfortable. And so at that moment, I surrendered myself to him. And I allowed him to work through me. I went to work with a better attitude. And it is amazing how quickly I picked up everything I needed to do to cook in that kitchen. I was taught really well by Renee, and they got some amazing equipment there. And so before long, I started to get the hang of the cooking, and then I started to get joy in cooking. Now that is the pure miracle. I started to get joy out of serving others through the cooking. It was amazing. But then a bigger miracle happened. There was a camp that was in where they wanted to just bless us as Ridgecrest staff. And so a couple of people came into the kitchen and they asked me how they could pray for me. And I said, pray for my foot, because I am always in so much pain. And they prayed for me, and my foot was healed. It was healed. I was relieved of pain from that moment. And then the next morning, when I'm leaving my house to walk to the kitchen, and we're talking 200 metres, as I start walking, I start getting a niggle of that plantar fascia pain again. And something rose up within me, and I'm like, I am not having this. Jesus has healed me. I'm not accepting this pain. And I don't know if you know that old chorus from the 1970s. Victory I have in Jesus Christ, forgiveness, for he was crucified. Anyway, I started singing that chorus with gusto because I was determined not to let the devil take a hold with that pain again. And by the time I got to the kitchen, the pain was gone. That happened for 2 days. 2 days I had to stand in my victory to say, I am not going to accept that anymore. I know Jesus has healed me. And it's gone. It's gone. That was 12 months ago. And this is the remarkable story of when we surrender ourselves to God, the adventure that he may take us on. And then even if we find ourselves somewhere where we don't understand why we're there, if that's where God wants us to be, he will protect us, he will equip us, he will give us that peace and give us that joy that is beyond understanding. So that's my story. And we would like to sing now that beautiful chorus, I Surrender All. And let's just remain seated. And we'll sing it through as a prayer. And there might be some things in your heart that you want to just give up to God and say, Lord, I'm just going to trust in your leading, in your guidance, in your security, in your healing, in your presence in my life.
All to Jesus.